The bit you really should be spending all of your time and energy on and trying to protect is that IP, your brand.
And if you're not present, people can be buying your competition. You've just successfully driven traffic to your competitors. What about selling through things like WhatsApp, right? In the UK, we don't see too much of that.
Confidence is so crucial, and it's one thing Amazon gets so well. We are not paid by Amazon. We have our own frustrations with Amazon. We don't love Amazon. So I'm getting really frustrated by this attitude. I feel it's really arrogant.
Here we go. Buckle up, team.
This is where people think they own their customers. Just because they have their email address and maybe sold something to them once, that somehow that's their customer and that they own them. I think the attitude is completely wrong.
How can you own a customer? You can't own a person.
They're free thinking, right? Just because you've sold to them, you've got an email address. You can email to them again. They've experienced your product once. But these people are consumers. Over 86% of them
it's so funny.
Are shopping on Amazon, right? They're constantly being bombarded by advertising everywhere they go. And I promise you, they are getting emails from your competitor brands as well.
This is not an exclusive relationship.
Absolutely not.
I think you're right. So you kind of touched on a really good point, which is essentially that people were like, oh, I'm not going to sell on a marketplace. I don't own that customer. I'm going to sell on my own website.
Which you should do. It's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
But the logic is flawed that I'm going to own the customer, right? So that's what you're railing against.
It's the amount of value that gets associated to having sold to them on the website versus selling to them on a marketplace.
I mean, what's the difference? The difference is a method of contacting the customer beyond the platform to which they purchased, right? Email, mobile.
Yes. But I think that the attitude, again, from an attitude perspective, which I see is I also own my infrastructure because I own my website and I have maybe a fulfillment center and I ship products. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. Your website, is Shopify, right? You don't own that infrastructure. You're renting that infrastructure. Your traffic, other than the emails you're sending out, which I bet is also sent through a third party
Klaviyo or something.
Yeah, right. Which you don't own. That's separate infrastructure. Or you're relying on traffic coming in from Google. That's rented. Social. That's rented as well.
Yeah.
And you might pick and pack and put some products into a box, but the second it gets picked up from you, it's been picked up by a third party infrastructure that's designed to move that through a really sophisticated system to do the last mile delivery to your customer. So what you actually own, that asset, is so small in that whole picture.
It's a part of the whole picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The real IP, what you really own, is your brand. That's the key. And that's the same whether you're selling on your website or Amazon or any other marketplace.
Yeah. And that's true. I was listening to a podcast from Seth Godin and he's like, and even then, you own the brand, but the world owns your reputation. So you don't even own that part of it, the whole picture.
Which actually is a really good... So part of my frustration with this is by trying to own more of these other bits that aren't, as I would say, as critical, or that everyone's effectively having to outsource to third parties. The bit you really should be spending all of your time and energy on and trying to protect is that IP, your brand. Because you're right, it's always at risk from the world. But that's probably where most of your emphasis should go. And if you look at a lot of really solid brands, that's probably what they spend most of their time doing, is protecting and projecting their brand image.
Well, okay, so I don't disagree, but I'm going to challenge you on it. Devil's advocate. I'm going to say, well, okay, but if I sell on Amazon, I can't communicate with the customer and build that ecosystem where they can stay, or that flow where they stay in my ecosystem, right? And so they purchase from me and come back. So like if I have an email, I can send them emails from a newsletter. If I have their mobile number, I can maybe do WhatsApp. I can triangulate them. I can use that information to find other lookalikes. But I lose all that blind spot. So I guess that's 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, there is quite a few points there. And I think they're all legitimate points. However, I don't think they're as valuable as you think they are. And the reason that value gets knocked out is that other people are marketing and communicating to them. And a lot of marketplaces are, so the likes of Amazon. But they'll be doing it on behalf of brands that are listed on their site. So maybe your competitor brand has been marketed to your
So AMC, right? You're getting AMC stuff, and you're getting like DSP, or both of those will be marketing to the customer in the same thing.
Yeah, because Amazon knows if if a customer is in market for a specific product, if they're buying from you,
They're
your
always
brand,
listening.
they are listening. You know that, so they'll be targeting them. The majority of those customers are likely to be part of that 86% that start their search on Amazon. So if you're not represented there, you may not even be in the game, because they might actually want to buy that product today from a channel that they know will get it delivered later today or tomorrow, which we know generally goes to Amazon. But almost certainly, you're also advertising on social media, and we know that a lot of people from that, some of them will go to your website, but a lot of them are going to Amazon or to other marketplaces to search to do the conversion and the buy. And again, if the product's not there, rather than going,
Buy
it's
from
not
you,
here, I'm going to go to the website, I'll just buy a competitor product.
Okay, so I take that point. You're saying basically have more than one. But if you're limited in resource, let's say I've got limited cash, right? I can only afford to do advertising on that will lead to either my website or to Amazon. In some ways, it helps to do that, right? Because there's so many like D2C native brands. When I say D2C, I mean on their own Shopify website that have succeeded, right? So many, like think of Harry's. It's kind of like started there and then it kind of moved into like all the other spaces. One of our former clients, like Dirty Mushroom Coffee, all that kind of stuff. Then you start on your website and then you spread out to these other places. There is a benefit to that because you can build that brand, right? I can do storytelling on socials and send it to my website where my competitors don't exist.
Arguably, I would probably say that if your limitation is cash to invest, then your lower capital option is probably to go to a marketplace like Amazon and start there, because that requires the least investment. You don't have to build a website, and
the site's already optimized. You know it's going to sell.
And customers
already there. And if they don't find you, they're going to find a competitor.
Yes.
So that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Right? So if I'm limited in cash, maybe don't go that way. And I think that's probably a good point because
I'm not saying something that I haven't done myself, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why I made that step.
Coconut Merchant did the same thing, right? We started on Amazon and only now we can like advertising on our own website. So I take that point. And in fact, it'd probably be the other way around, right? If you have lots of cash, D2C. If you have limited cash, marketplace.
And actually, I think that's a really good point, because what you tend to find is most D2C brands these days, and again, I'll go back to the point you made about there are all of these success stories, and I would say those are the success stories. What we don't see is the tens of thousands of failures that sit behind those. And the ones that do succeed almost certainly were incredibly well funded in order to get there in the first place. Didn't have to be profitable, simply just had to get to a critical mass, and they were funded to get to that point with an intention to exit from the initial investors. But coming to those ones, again, if you're going to do that, if you're going to do all of that brand awareness, we know, again, data backs this up. The stats are there. They exist. If you're going to do that, traffic is going to then filter into Amazon. If you're in the US, Walmart, people are going to do searches and try and buy that product on there. Yeah. And you're just losing those sales and those conversions, or a proportion of those, a significant proportion, if you're not also in that place there. So my point would be to those brands, do both. You're well funded. Why not?
Just do both. And it's true. We see that, right? So we see people run advertising on Meta, run advertising on TikTok, and their brand searches increase on Amazon. We can literally see the data there. And if you're not present, people can be buying your competition. You've just successfully driven traffic to your competitors.
Yeah, literally. And you see a lot of lookalike brands doing that, where they'll set up specifically on Amazon because they see a big brand that's created a market for something. They've educated it and brought it in.
What about selling through things like WhatsApp, right? In the UK, we don't see too much of that. I see a lot of it in the US. When I'm out there, there's agencies that specialize purely in WhatsApp marketing. What about that? Because you can't do any WhatsApp marketing or anything like that on Amazon, because you don't have those numbers. You don't have your phone number. But if you do that via your website, you can target these people and remarket to them.
You can if you got. I think there's a really important point here. The reason why I think it has struggled to take off in the UK and Europe so far is GDPR, and that is a real friction point for them. I'm pretty sure Meta will find a way around that, and make it, and that will come in. I think the better example probably to use in the UK is social, and I can see both TikTok and Instagram particularly trying to sit as a conversion platform. We see it with TikTok Shop already. But again, in those examples, we know a significant proportion of those consumers are finding their way either to D2C websites and a lot more to Amazon and other marketplaces. So fundamentally, this is coming to a point where we're basically going to say, look, it's going to be important to be in all of these markets, and wherever your consumer can be, if you can. But I would still argue that your starting point, if you have to only choose one and you're in the UK or the US or Europe, it's Amazon.
Ultimately, I think you're right. I agree with it. And it's the strategy that I engaged. And my whole thing was based around, and we now help our brands do this, which is essentially find the customer on Amazon, because the river's there, right? Customers are running past you, just catch them.
Yeah.
And then once you're there, work out structures that are within the marketplace rules that will somehow keep them in your ecosystem and maybe even get them to your website at some point.
Yeah.
So you're basically using it as a market awareness funnel.
Yeah.
To get the people through to you and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
And so the two are running concurrently, and your strategy, especially if you're cash strapped, is marketplace, send them through to your D2C site somehow, maybe take a couple conversions along the way, but they get to your D2C site and you keep them there.
Absolutely. And just be aware of the fact that consumers are probably, they're moving between these platforms. We see it. We know, we see the data moving across all of those.
Well, actually on that, sometimes they're very different customers, right? Because we say this to people as well. The Amazon customer is a convenience customer, right?
Yeah.
That's what Amazon is ultimately selling. They're selling convenience. I am looking for something. I'm in the market for it. I go on Amazon. I'm going to buy something.
Yeah.
It's either going to be your product or your competitors.
The conversion rate backs us up, by the way.
And the conversion rate backs it up. And the ads, returns on ad spend backs us up as well. So I'm going to buy something from Amazon, right? And I know it's going to come the same day or the next day. Whereas if I'm going to purchase the other way, which is kind of like through impulse if I'm scrolling, or through a general market search on Google, I then have to find the product, trust the site, be confident enough that it's going to arrive within the time that I want it to arrive, and then come through. So they're different behaviors.
Yeah.
They're very different behaviors.
Very different behaviors.
And if you add in another layer where AI is coming to things as well, and it's giving recommendations. So they're different purchasing behaviors. So one is about, I have a need, I need it addressed relatively soon, and I need certainty, and I maybe only need that one thing. So I'm not going to spend time to go to a store. So there's that. Or it's going to be impulse, or I've been caught and I've kind of come across a brand several times, and then I thought, okay, I am interested in this. I've dwelled long enough on this image that they retarget me and they come back and they go purchase. I'm going to buy this. Great. And then I go through and buy it. But even then, there's always that uncertainty on, is this a legit site? Is the product going to arrive? Is it as promised? And all those different factors that go into things like that. So it's a different customer.
And confidence is key in that, right? So you're right. You've got different consumer behaviors, but confidence is so crucial. And it's one thing Amazon gets so well. There is a point I want to make. I want to do what you do. You look down the camera, right? You want to make a really intent point, but this is really important, right? We are not paid by Amazon. We have our own frustrations with Amazon. We don't love Amazon. However, we are entrepreneurs. We have started and run and built and grown our own businesses. And we love other entrepreneurs and we love spending time with them. And we hate seeing people get bad advice, and we hate people
wasting money,
wasting their really hard earned. We understand how much you put into it as entrepreneurs. And so this advice very much comes from the heart in that respect, and just from experience. And we know what works, and we see this day, and we see it day in, day out. We work with so many brands, so many founders. So that's where this comes from, not from the fact that we just love Amazon. That they exist,
Yeah.
right?
It's just a market reality.
Yeah. So
Cool. Okay. Well, point made, I think, which is the whole assumption that I own the customer because I'm selling on my own website is a little bit BS, if I'm going to be a bit crude about it. And what you really should be doing is looking at, one, your budget, and two, your overall strategy, working out the platform that best is most likely to succeed for you in terms of revenue and your overall goals, right? Once you have that, you may find you need to have both. You have your marketplace where your customer habitually may go purchase, and it may not be Amazon, it may be like Etsy or something else, depending on what you're selling. And then you have your own website, which serves as a method of building trust, creating an ecosystem, and keeping and being a destination for people to come back to in the future if they've liked your product. Would you agree?
I agree. Well said.
Great. Well, I concur.
If anyone disagrees.
If you disagree, message in below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Cool. Well, with that, we're going to wrap out. One love.
One love.